Hi, my name is Kimberly from Zeben Development. Today I'm going to show you how to synchronize your constituent data between Razor's Edge and Mailchimp. So the first thing you'll need to do is open up the plugin in Database View, go to the Synchronize area, and you can choose to either synchronize your constituent records or your non-constituent relationship records. They work in exactly the same way, but the available fields are different, which is why they're separate processes. So we'll take a look at the constituent sync today. So first of all, we select the audience we want to synchronize with. So you can see the audience is noted here. We create a control report, and the control report is simply an Excel file that will be created when we run the process and will show us any errors if there are any in the process. We can select a query of constituents to synchronize with our audience. Now, this query just needs to contain the people that we want to push over into our Mailchimp audience. Anybody who's already there will be looked up across the entirety of our Razor's Edge database. And we can also synchronize just a small segment of our Mailchimp audience as well. So that's really useful if we keep prospects in our Mailchimp audience that we don't want to add to Razor's Edge. We can create a segment of just people who are already in RE, and then we can speed up the synchronization process by only working with those records. We can create a query of new records, updated records, and any that we skip, so we could have got easy access to those as well. And then we go to the mapping. So we can see in the right-hand box here, we've got the Mailchimp merge variables on the left and the field that it should map to in the center. We can pick those fields from the Razor's Edge tree on the left-hand side, and you can see all the available fields here that we can match to those. We can also synchronize our groups from Mailchimp to Razor's Edge, and we can do that in a number of different ways. So we can choose to add that information to constituent codes, solicit codes, attributes, or consent records. And these can go back and forth. So when somebody signs up to your Mailchimp audience, you could ask them for this group information and bring it into Razor's Edge. But likewise, if you've got information in your attribute, solicit codes, or constituent codes that you want to push out into Mailchimp to use to segment your mailings, you can do that here as well. And each group can be synchronized in a different way. So they can go to different areas of Razor's Edge depending on what information we're looking at. And then we've got some settings. So the whole point of this area is to allow you to ensure that you're meeting your Razor's Edge standards and business rules when you're creating new records in Razor's Edge from Mailchimp signups. So just to talk through these briefly, the first section is about what to do with data that's coming in from Mailchimp but doesn't match a code table in Razor's Edge. We can ensure that when we add a new email address for both a new and existing constituent, we mark it as primary, and we can ensure we don't overwrite existing emails as well. We can add default constituent codes and attributes to both new and existing records in Razor's Edge who are on our Mailchimp audience. We can remove the request no email flag from an existing constituent if they subsequently signed up to our Mailchimp audience. If you're allowing people to sign up to Mailchimp with nothing but an email address, you'll need to put some text in this box here, as Razor's Edge requires a last name field to be completed in order to create a record. And if you're working with postal addresses, there's some options here to back up the old postal address when we add a new one, back up the type, remove the flag, so that's all set up with the new address that comes in from Mailchimp. And then we can run the synchronization. So the first time you run it, it will synchronize all changes, and subsequently it will show the date we last ran the synchronization, and we can run it from then. But we can always change this date if we want to as well. And we're going to review all of our records and show all of our conflicts, so any records where we need to make a decision, so that we can make a decision manually. We can also save these settings, so we're not going through this process every single time we run the sync. So let's run it. Now, at this point, no data is being transferred between Razor's Edge and Mailchimp. We're simply putting it into our review screen so we can make a decision before we commit the changes. So here's our review screen. On the left, we've got our Razor's Edge data. On the right, we've got our Mailchimp data. And down the center, you can see a column called Action to Take, and that shows us the direction of data flow. So as we can see, this record does not exist in Razor's Edge. It's a brand new Mailchimp sign up. So all of the data fields are going to be added to Razor's Edge, and that's going to create a constituent ID, which we'll push back out to Mailchimp so that we can match exactly next time on this record. So we don't need to do anything with that. That's automatically going to be added to Razor's Edge. Here we've got another brand new record. It's going to work in exactly the same way. We've also got a group edition here as well. And again, we've got that process here, a brand new record with one of our groups too. And same with this one. So here we can see we've got two different email addresses. Because the data in Mailchimp has been updated more recently than Razor's Edge, we can see the dates here. Chimpegration assumes we want to push the data to Razor's Edge. However, I can change that manually if I want, and I can push that email address out to Mailchimp if I prefer. If for any reason I wanted to skip a record, I can do that too. I can either skip on a field by field basis by changing this to none, or I can skip an entire record and I can make a note for myself here. So that will go into our control report and we can see why we skipped it. Here we've got a conflict. So that just means that Chimpegration isn't sure which direction it should push the data. So we need to make a decision. And as I mentioned, we can do that by clicking on the drop down and changing the direction that we want the data to flow in. However, if you're ever not sure about which way you want that data to go, we can easily check. The link under the Razor's Edge name is a link to their Razor's Edge record. So if we click on that, it will open it up for us and we can double check the data there. The name under the Mailchimp record is also a link to their Mailchimp record. So we can easily check the data there as well before we make a decision. So I'm going to add all of this information to Razor's Edge. Once again, here we've got a conflict on an address. So we've got a brand new address coming in from Mailchimp to Razor's Edge. So rather than go through each of these individually, I can change all of them to push in the same direction using this box at the top. So we'll add that new Manchester address to the Razor's Edge record. So once you're happy with all of those changes, we just say process all. We're going to create our query of updated records. And once it's complete, we'll see our review screen here that shows us where we've created new records, where we've updated them, where we've updated records on Mailchimp and so on. If there are any errors, they'll also show here and we can find those in our control report along with this summary screen that's recorded there too. So let's go and take a look at the records we synchronized. So we've got 4 records that were updated. We've got 2 brand new records that were added here. Let's take a look at Andy Murray. So we've got his basic biographical information added, his address, we've got his email address, which we've marked as primary, and we've got his default constituent code of friend that's been added as well. In the attributes area, we can see that we've got the default attribute we added of send newsletter, and we've also got his referral, which came through as online too. We can see that the name change for this person has gone through. We've updated to the double-barreled surname. And then let's take a look at this record, which should show us an address change. So we can see in the preferred address box, we've got the brand new Manchester address. But if we go to the addresses tab, we can see the old one has been backed up as an alternate address. We've removed the send mail flag. We've added that to the new address along with the preferred checkbox as well. So that's how easy it is to synchronize your data between Razor's Edge and Mailchimp, making sure that you never have any data silos and all of your information is up to date in both places before you get in touch with your donors, either via Mailchimp email campaign or individually. Thanks for listening.